Good evening, everybody. I would like to call the February 27th, 2024 Methacton School District Regular Board Meeting to order. Next is our pledge. Dr. Zerby.
Please join Mr. Robin from Arrowhead Elementary School for the pledge.
Hi, my name is Alex Robin, and I am in 4th grade at Arrowhead Elementary School. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now Ms. Liu from Arrowhead Elementary School will talk about how much she loves her school.
Hi, my name is Claire Liu, and I am in 4th grade at Arrowhead Elementary. Here are 6 reasons why I love Arrowhead, and it's the perfect place to grow. First of all the teachers are super nice and pay attention to us, especially when we need help. Second, the teachers give us lots of prep for tests. For example, a few weeks ago, my teacher sent home a packet for us to work on before a test. We also reviewed it at school after. Third, Arrowhead plans fun events once in a while so we don't get bored. Fourth, Arrowhead gives us the options to explore different things like safeties on the bus to set a good example for the little kids, student council, and after-school clubs like Chess Club and Science Explorers. Fifth, as a background, I started my 1st grade at Eagleville and transferred to Arrowhead in 2nd grade. Ever since then, all the teachers made sure we knew what to do before moving on. 6, Arrowhead gives us ways to promote public speaking by letting us say the pledge on the announcements or just things in class. In summary, I love my school because it's a place where we can just be plain we, plus we will grow along the way.
Now, if Ms. Liu and Mr. Robin would join Madam President and myself out front for the issuance of the Junior School Board Director certificates. So please join us out front.
Okay. The public is hereby advised of the audio and video recording of this meeting for the purposes of rebroadcasting. The board met in an executive session immediately prior to tonight's meeting here at Arcola Intermediate School for the purpose of discussing confidential student special education matters. All our board members are present. Now we have our guests and scheduled speakers. Dr. Zerby.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a number of presentations this evening. The first and one I'm most proud of is we have Dr. Roberts, Arrowhead Elementary School principal, here to help us recognize some incredible individuals with the Spirit of Methacton Award. Dr. Roberts?
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Zerby. I appreciate it. Thank you, members of the school board, for letting us speak this evening. Excuse me, sorry. Before I start, I'd just like to say how proud I am of both Claire and Alex. You both did a really, really beautiful job representing Arrowhead, but more importantly yourselves. I'm really, really proud of you. So thank you. And thanks for taking the time to come out tonight. So tonight I'd like to recognize one of our 4th grade students, Mr. Matthew Brown, who's over there with his family. I have some things I'd like to share about Matthew. Matthew is an exemplary student. He is strong academically. What I really admire most about Matthew is the way he has conversations with both peers and adults. Many times I feel like I'm talking to a little adult when I have conversations with Matthew. He's an extraordinary person. Some of his qualities: he's kind, he's caring. He's currently a fourth grade student. He also serves as a member in our student council, and he's involved in many extracurricular activities. He has a very busy schedule. In short, he has learned the skill at a very young age of balancing things in his life, which is really essential. And again, we're really proud of him. He is committed to working hard. He always puts his best foot forward. He is motivated and not afraid to think outside the box. He is humble in everything he does. He is kind and generous. And when it comes to the people around him, he is a leader and a positive role model. So we'd like to recognize Mr. Matthew Brown at this time. Keep up the great work, Matthew. All right, up next, I have Mrs. Karen McDonough, who is one of our art teachers. I see Karen in the background. She's trying to hide, but here she comes. As I continue, I'd like to thank Ms. Kelly for enlarging the print here because I can take my glasses off. I love age, so thank you, Ms. Kelly. Here's some things I'd like to share about Karen McDonough, our art teacher. It's with great pleasure that we recommend Mrs. McDonough for the Spirit of Methacton Award. Karen's an art teacher at Arrowhead. She is creative and fun. Our students love her lessons and classes. The event I'm really proud of is the art show. She's really proud of it too. She's working on it right now. It's always well attended, and I'm just so thankful and appreciative of all the hard work that Karen does in preparing our students to share their beautiful artwork, not only during the art show, but throughout the year. I always receive positive praise and feedback from our families and communities that visit related to our art projects and art show. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Karen for her kind, generous and just caring heart for our students in our school. So thank you, Karen. All right, up next, I'd like to recognize Mrs. Chrissy Fitzgerald, Mrs. Fitz, as we'd like to call her, for the Spirit of Methacton Award. Chrissy serves as an Arrowhead teacher in grade 1. It's always so much fun to visit her classroom. Chrissy has a wonderful sense of humor. I really enjoy seeing her classes and her engagement with the kids. She has a lot of talents, unique skill sets. She always incorporates care, humor, and kindness and genuine love for learning into her daily lessons. She works really hard to build strong relationships with her students, colleagues, and families. She's fun, energetic, and a strong student advocate. We appreciate her efforts in educating our students, and I'd just like to take this time to thank Mrs. Fitz for everything she does to support Arrowhead, our school, and our family. So thank you, Mrs. Fitz. You're great. All right, up next we have Mrs. Sharon Kushner. Sharon serves as an instructional assistant. Here she comes. I feel like the price is right. Come on down, Sharon. Anyway, Mrs. Kushner serves Arrowhead as an instructional assistant. She is the epitome of a team player. She's kind, she's thoughtful, she's extremely caring, she's energetic, she engages with our students. She always has a smile on her face and is welcoming to all who enter through the Arrowhead doors. Sharon is an integral part of our school family, always willing to help a student, staff member, or family when asked. And Sharon, I just want to thank you for lighting up our school every day with your smile and your caring heart. Thank you. All right, last one is Mrs. Mary Beth Morano. I don't know if Mary Beth is here right now. She serves on our home and school, but we'd like to recognize her. Mrs. Verano serves on Arrowhead Home and School on the board. She's an exceptional and outstanding community volunteer. She's kind. She's always willing to help with any school or home and school event. She has led and organized the Arrowhead Spirit Wear, which our students and staff love. They always love seeing the new designs that come out. And then on any given day, you can find Mary Beth at Arrowhead volunteering to help in the CAF or with kid writing or just preparing with a home and school event. Wanted to take the opportunity to thank Mary Beth for all of her time in supporting our students' education as well as Arrowhead School, and just want to say sensational work to Mary Beth. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
If it's okay, Madam President, I'll make an announcement before we move on to the next order of business in terms of guests and scheduled speakers. So if anybody wants to exit before we move on to business, you're certainly welcome to do that at this time. We'll just give you a few minutes. Next on the agenda for guests and scheduled speakers is a brief update. I asked Mr. Bricker as part of his report to the Finance Committee here in the month of February to also provide an update to the board. So members of the board, you have a handout at your table. Certainly, Mr. Bricker will be presenting this update on the screen, and this will then be posted to the district website. Mr. Bricker?
Thank you, Dr. Zerbe. Tonight, for the brief update, we want to go over the changes. The changes for this month included about $1.2 million worth of revenue and also expenditures. The major changes in the revenue were attributed to assessment decreasing by $1.8 million roughly. Local real estate taxes increased by $990,000. And we moved our occupational privilege tax and earned income tax to the top end of the projections based on the amounts being received. Our final projections are due in April. For the major expenditure changes in debt, the expenditures was debt service was added for borrowing for the high school, as this will be needed regardless of what the final decision is on how to proceed. If you remember in the presentation, the first year we had a $10 million borrowing regardless of the outcome. So I wanted to plan for that and get that into our budget now so that we have that out there. We also added an additional $125,000 to cover the food at the high school, which is a projected shortfall. Everyone I've talked to tells us it's going to take about 3 years to get that to be a cash positive area. Overall, due to the increased debt service, which is required regardless of the direction, to renovate, repair, or rebuild the high school, additional costs needed to be added into the budget. These costs combined with the other revenue changes made our millage increase go from 3.94% as originally presented to 5.15%. On the next slide, you'll see the next steps that'll be impacting the budget. For March, we'll have the March assessments. We'll make any millage changes necessary, any staffing changes, which includes any benefit changes that the staff does. We'll make adjustments for charter school. We'll have North Monco Technical Career Center actual costs, and we anticipate having our workers' comp plan in place at that point in time. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you for the update, Mr. Bricker. Are there any questions from members of the board to my right? Seeing none at this time. Any questions from members of my board to my left? Seeing none at this time. Thank you, Mr. Bricker.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a brief update on the Methacton High School campus planning process. Each board member has a small handout in front of them, which contains some of the slides from last week, as well as a few additional slides. So we are presenting that up on the screen, and certainly will then post this to the district website. If I could get help with advancing the slides, since I don't have the remote, if we can move from the main slide to slide 2 in terms of the goal. Slide 2. Who's doing it? Oh. Slide 2, as we remember, the goal is to develop a comprehensive campus plan to consider the information from the 23 facilities assessment with conditions, a report, recommendations from the Methacton High School Campus Planning Committee, the financial analysis from PFM and the district business office, and the owner's representative estimates of pre-conceptual options and cost. The next slide is an example of an updated slide from the meeting last week, which includes having line items in each of the options for the sewer plant and the transportation center. So with those recommendations from our meeting at the work session, we added those prior to posting, but this reflects that. So there's no new information on slide 3, nor slide 4, nor slide 5, or slide 6. These are all pieces of information that you already have available to you. On slide 7, if you recall, this was the best referred to as a heat map in terms of what option will provide the best results based on the categories listed. It was recommended that we provide more detail associated with this. So on slide 8 and 9 and 10, you will see that the more detailed options, all 63 recommendations from the Methacton High School Campus Planning Committee are listed on the far left-hand column. Then each of the options are listed in these subsequent columns, and then whether or not the item can be met at all, met in partial, and met completely is consistent with that associated with the original heat map. So just to give you an idea, with these details, you can see that under option 1, there would be 11 green boxes or 11 recommendations that can be met under option 1. Under option 1, there are 46 red boxes, meaning that you would not be able to meet 46 of the recommendations. And then there are 6 yellow boxes where you partially meet those recommendations. And that's how you would read the rest of the charts and how they're listed across there. So again, 63 recommendations. Red indicates that it can't be met. Yellow indicates that it's partially met, and green indicates that it's completely met. In terms of the rest of this presentation, if you go to slide 12, please. Slide 12, it was recommended that we explore option 4 further. We know that it would take about 6 months to engage the board-approved architect, to meet with students, staff, and parents, to develop no less than 3 concepts, to take those 3 concepts to the public for feedback and any additional recommendations, and then to bring that information forward at a special meeting for the board in the future. We also know that the impact of this decision on the district, which is to provide a direction in an exploratory process to develop concepts, to provide greater specificity on the potential comprehensive plan. It provides the greatest potential in addressing challenges, future programming, and optimal experience. It is the least disruptive of all the options. And lastly, it establishes a ceiling of outcomes with which future modifications can be derived, scaled back, considered, or alternates. And then on the last slide, I just want to bring your attention to the ongoing steps. So the timeline, on Monday afternoon, we released the public feedback form. You can find that on the district website and the Methacton High School Campus Planning Committee, or right on the front page. We asked for your feedback on the questions listed there. In addition to that, we're looking for feedback at the 2 open public forums scheduled, one scheduled for the 29th of February and the other one scheduled for March 11th. And lastly, we will then bring all that information back on the 19th of March for the board's information needs, and look to set a direction by March 26th. Are there any questions from members of the board on any of these matters? Yes, Ms. Cleary.
Dr. Zerbe, on the new charts that follow the heat map dots, the option 4, the new construction option, I see yellow and I see red, and those all relate to either the bus depot or relocating the transportation center in general. And I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on why those are red and or yellow.
Again, this is based on the information and the work that we've done to this date. So when it's marked red in terms of being able to relocate the transportation center, as an example, and I forget which recommendation that is, but it's come up in a number of the recommendations across the total of 63. The challenge there is that there are only so many properties in combined Lower Providence and Worcester Township that could theoretically take that have the size to take the buses, the cars from the drivers, have a garage, those types of things. We've been doing some preliminary investigation on that, and I can say that while it's not impossible, it'll be very challenging, specifically with the initial numbers that we received from KCBA many months ago about what it would take to develop a property, anywhere between $7 to $9 million if it was just a grassed area, and we'd have to put macadam down, and we'd have to do all sorts of things with stormwater management. So what my recommendation is, if we were to consider a new option, a new school option, like in option 4, the likelihood of being able to keep that transportation center on the campus is good. Because I would think, and again, I'm not the architect, but I would think that we would likely build up rather than build out, which would mean that by building up, we would create more parking availability and more green space on the campus. So that is my thoughts around the transportation center and whether or not that should or could be taken off. Canopy, I imagine if there's a will, there's a way. But to what degree of expense and benefit will that have? Another example of the investigation we've done on this, I don't want to go belabor this too long, but I think it's important to know that some of the properties that are available in terms of its acreage to be able to house the setup are on the farthest portion away from the majority of the population. So, like for example, in the corner of Worcester, more than 2/3 of our students come from Lower Providence, which in turn would mean all of our buses would drive from that corner of Worcester Township to the other end of Lower Providence Township, and then increase our long-term cost in terms of mileage and transportation and gas and fuel, those types of things. So those are some of the things that we've looked at. Is it impossible? I just want to be clear that it's not impossible, but it's probably not going to be in our long-term best interests to think that is going to something that will materialize and be the turning point for us to decide whether we move forward with any other development on this property. Sorry for being long-winded, but I think it was important to kind of lay some of that out. Any other questions, Ms. Perdue?
And so along the same lines of that, then I will expect that wherever we have and I think it's item 1.6, where it say remove the bus depot and reclaim the space, I will also expect that item will also be read, because I mean, when you look at 5.5, I believe, or 5.6, it's all very small. It's all the same thing. It's relocate the transportation center to a new or near location, and then in the other one is relocated. I mean, there's additional ask on there, but you're not achieving that even with that option. So it's odd that one is yellow and then the other one is green.
I think that the challenge is some of these recommendations have multiple recommendations inside the recommendation. So what I mean by that is, in one instance it says, to move the transportation building off of the campus, and then the other part of the sentence says, and, create a new access road. Well, we can create the new access road, but moving the transportation building is going to be difficult to get off the campus. And I know the handout that you have, the writing's small, and I'm not going to even try to read it myself. That's why I had to turn around and read the screen. But in general, you will be provided all these documents in their full visual version. But I wanted to give you an idea of where we're at. So yeah, the heat map was reviewed by our maintenance department, and certainly there's a little bit of kind of leeway back and forth on some of this. So it's not all hard and fast as saying, no, you can't accomplish something. In fact, in all reasonableness, if you want to accomplish all of the things in option one through a renovation, you probably could do that, but your cost and the time associated with doing that would be exponentially nearly impossible to manage, and its impact would be impossible to manage. So there's nothing that, throwing money at it wouldn't solve, but in a reasonable approach, given the scenarios, the preconceptual scenarios delivered by our owner's rep, these represent that heat map. Any other questions, Ms. Cancro?
I think, when we're talking about the transportation, we've done a lot of things throughout the past couple of years looking at Audubon and the property. So I think we take that and put it separate and put it into the property committee so that we could kind of discuss and review the options that we've talked about in the past, because I think we've definitely had a lot of conversation around it in prior years as well. So I do agree what you're saying, that we could get the buses to come and go out of a different direction and maybe have the drivers park in a different location based on where the building is placed. So that will allow more student parking. But I do understand why the transportation might not be really something to consider here, but it's something for us to look at as well. But the other thing I want to do is I do want to put all the different options and put the costs out on the top. So option one is 99,000. 99, God bless, 99 million. I apologize. And then just seeing as you go so that you could see the costs out. So just putting the costs up on each of the options.
Yep, we can do that. And we can get all the information from the former conversations about moving busing off and get that into the hands of the property committee to have any discussions that they choose to have, to give us some direction on that. Again, these are the way this materialized is really through having these preconceptual conversations. I would imagine that once you get an architect involved in the process and they're looking at things in a different light, maybe they can do other things here. So I certainly don't want to discount anything. These are just, again, our preliminary observations of what we can and can't do. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Pooja? Chanda? Sorry.
No worries. Is there somewhere where there are explicit definitions on what the colors mean? The red, yellow, and green? I just feel like that might be helpful for the public.
So there'll be a key added to this.
Okay.
And perfect. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Graff.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple of things. One, there are 2 public forums coming up that will provide opportunity for the public to ask questions and get direct feedback in a meeting style. And those are the 29th and then March 11th. And then the second question is, the second comment I guess I just want to make is that the feedback that's obtained from the online form is going to come back to the board in the work session in March?
That is correct, along with any feedback from the open public forums.
Okay, great. And then March 26th is our target date for the board to make the decision on the direction forward in terms of which option we would like to move forward with. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, that ends the guests and scheduled speakers for this evening.
Thank you. All right, we could move on to reports. Our committee reports are attached. So first this evening is Ms. Washington with district work on the DEI initiatives.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. With our fall SEL cohorts completed with their training, we have already begun training with our spring cohort. And this new group of teachers will be gaining the same professional development on ways to incorporate social emotional learning into their academic content and continue to cultivate a community of belonging in their classrooms. The cohort that has already received this opportunity will receive support from their building principals, district leadership, and the associates from Tom Stecker and Associates on explicit instruction and practice of this content in their classrooms. Alongside the opportunities with our teachers, we are also working with our student leaders at both Arcola and Methacton High School on ways to build off the topics that were discussed at Student Voice Day. And these themes discussed at both Arcola and the high school included ways students could be upstanders and stand up against bullying, and how students can create unity with students across grade bands. And students will work with their building principals and leaders to transition their ideas into action plans. Our building liaisons continue to support me, our building principals, and their colleagues in the building. They provide support with the morning announcements in their buildings, provide monthly resources around social emotional learning, and ensuring representation for all of our students. They also help to support an overall positive school climate here at Methacton. They have offered support this month around Black History Month. Across our elementary schools, you can see projects students have completed as they learned about prominent African American leaders that have made a positive impact in our country. These include figures such as Rosa Parks and Frederick Douglass. At Skyview Upper Elementary School, teachers took students on virtual museum tours. And the Arcola Morning News, they shared quotes by famous African Americans, and the Student Council is hosting a Black History Month essay contest. Lastly, the K-12 career counselor and myself joined 3 student leaders from our Black Student Union who were recognized at a Black History Month celebration breakfast at the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Montgomery County as Silent Rising Stars. And so with that, congratulations to sophomore Elijah Hughes, junior Arlene Cadogan, and senior Jared Hall Sanford.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Any questions or comments? All right. Yes, Ms. Thiel.
Ms. Washington, thank you so much for that. That sounds wonderful. And I've heard some comments from the public about over the years about bullying and stuff. And I was wondering if this puts you on the spot. I don't mean to, and that's fine. Wondering if you could speak to how SEL can benefit a culture for that with the instruction that's going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. With social emotional learning, it is about building relationships, not just teacher to student, but our students amongst each other. And the leadership opportunities are also presenting opportunities of ways that they can have tangible ways to do that, whether that's buddy lunches or even having at the high school, they have a silent lunchroom for those who might need a space just not in the chaos of the lunchroom.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Washington. Have a good night. Next, Ms. Purdue on the IU.
Thank you. I have a really short report. The January meeting for the IU was their first meeting for this year. So it was more centered around welcoming new board members that are joining the IU from different surrounding school districts. They highlighted some of their programs that they're planning for 2024. And one of the things we all walked away is that board members at the IU were invited to participate in this year's Read Across America program, which will be celebrated the week of March 2nd through the 6th. And we were asked to either provide a book that we would like to read at the IE centers or actually select a book, and they were willing to purchase those books for board members to read to students in their centers. So that's it for the IU, but I think as we progress, the next meeting is actually tomorrow, so I'll have more updates then. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And next, Ms. Alston and Mr. Mirsky on the North Monco.
Thank you. Yes, the North Monco board, we met on Wednesday, February 21st, and we reviewed several matters. All matters were voted on. The main matter of note was we voted to for a reorganization of the PIAP plan. And there is also a car show coming up in April. Do you have the date for that? we'll announce that next month. There is a car show coming up in April. You can go to the North Monco website. So that's a big fundraiser for the North Monco Education Foundation, and that is sure to be a good event to go to. They also discussed the incredible number of students who came to the open house in February, as well as the number of students who are touring with their classes. So it's really, really a vibrant scene at North Monco Tech.
The date of the car show is April 13th.
April 13th. Mark your calendars for the North Monco Tech Car Show. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to hear from our high school board representatives, Sol Martin and Victoria Fan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sol Martin, and I'll begin our report today. To begin, happy belated Valentine's Day. The Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, also known as the FCCLA, were selling flowers that could be sent to a person anonymously on Valentine's Day morning. Red for love, pink for crush, and white for friendship. On February 9th, the Minithon Committee had a movie night and played the Eras Tour movie. From February 29th to March 7th, Minithon will also have a scavenger hunt, headed by Akil Yalori and Nathan Alex. This scavenger hunt will have a gift card and 20% earnings prize after the completion of many tasks for points. Not only did Minithon have a movie night, Class Congress of 2025 will be having a Ratatouille movie night on March 8th in the LGI. In thought of Lunar Year, the Asian Student Association, also known as ASA, were selling lunar grams, which included 6 different Asian candies to try and a fun sticker. On February 9th and 15th, the Kids Against Crisis Club, also known as CAC, had a field trip to Eagleville Elementary School and Worcester Elementary School to do crafts with the kindergarten kids. Now onto sports. The girls and boys swim team had their PAC championships. The girls 400 free relay got second place in PACs and made a district consideration cuts. 6 girls competed at districts meet Friday, February 23rd and Saturday, February 24th. Christian Liebold is the only swimmer of the meet to have 2 first-place finishes in his individual event. Christian also broke a pool record in the 100 breaststroke. The meetings for boys and girls spring track are starting, and the Methacton boys track team traveled to the Armours New Jersey Varsity Classic, and the girls track team competed February 16th at the Lehigh University in the Meet of Champions. This was the last opportunity for the athletes to qualify for the state championships. It was held at Penn State University on Sunday, February 25th. And for boys basketball, the boys basketball team won 2 rounds of districts and unfortunately lost to the CB West this past Friday. Tonight, they're playing for district playbacks against the CB East. Cheerleaders won PACs. Captain Georgia Rembert was presented with a scholarship from the Dennis Rapp Memorial Scholarship Fund. This scholarship recognizes local cheer athletes who are hardworking, reliable, and perseverant, and positive leaders. The Warrior Wrestlers finished in second place in a field of 8 teams at the Panther Duels at Strathaven High School. They now move on to the postseason, which starts with the District First North Tournament at Perkiomen Valley High School on Saturday, February 24th. And lastly, Methacton Team 1, captained by Ali Conrad, qualified for the Montgomery County Bocce Championship, which was held at Upper Marion High School yesterday, February 26th at 3 p.m.
Good evening. My name is Victoria Fan, and I will wrap up our report with just a few more Methacton High School recent events. Congratulations to Methacton High School's literary arts magazine, The Element. The student-run magazine has been recognized as the superior magazine by the National Council of Teachers of English for the Recognizing Excellence in Art and Literary Magazines contest. Methacton High School was recently awarded College Board's Female Diversity Award for achieving high female representation in AP Computer Science principles. And a special shout out goes to computer science teacher, Mr. Metz. 100% of Mr. Metz students received a 3 or higher in computer science principles. Methacton High School's Electric Car Club had 2 student-built electric cars featured in an exhibit at the Philadelphia Auto Show. 6 ABC spoke with the club sponsor, Mr. Savitz, and club members ahead of the annual event. Students from the MHS Multicultural Club met with fourth graders from Woodland Elementary School to create decorations for an upcoming holiday, past holiday, Lunar New Year. The kids had fun coloring a dragon, and the high school students drew and created ribbon wands for a dance video that they will try out in music class. Regarding scheduling classes for next year, teachers have completed the course recommendation process, and counselors are currently in the process of meeting with students one-to-one to do course selection. Parent verification forms will be online and are due the first week of March, and students are directed to contact parents before leaving the meeting to inform them that the selections are live in PowerSchool. The senior banquet was held on February 23rd at Normandy Farms at 7 p.m. and was a huge success. The dinner time was pushed back to allow seniors to attend round 2 of districts for the basketball team. The teams club had their state competition from 2:30 to 7 in the girls' gym on February 22nd, and they will receive their results later this year. The test was half multiple choice and half engineering with their group. The annual Methacton events of Mr. Methacton, which is our senior pageant and stall day where students can bring change for teachers to count and stall class, will occur this Friday, March 1st. The Methacton High School Student Blood Drive and Community Blood Drive will take place on March 7th. And this concludes our report on the happenings at the high school this month, and we look forward to more exciting events in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're more than welcome to be excused if you like, so you can go home and study. Thank you very much, Sol Martin and Victoria Fan. Next, Ms. Pirgolini with the update on the foundation activities.
Hi, good evening. I just have a quick couple things tonight. The Methacton Education Foundation is still accepting proposals for grants for the spring 2024 funding cycle. The deadline's this Friday, March 1st, and these will be for programs for next fall. The MEF website has all the information that staff need to submit a letter of intent to propose funding for creative ideas, as well as the criteria for the evaluations of the proposal. And next, dodgeball registration is closed. We already have over 300 participants signed up and over 30 teams. It's going to be on March 17th at the high school, and we are still in need of some volunteers. Game times and brackets will be sent out soon, and all the details are on our website. But thank you all who registered, and to all our sponsors. It's going to be a great day.
Great, thank you very much. I do know that we have a team for here with the school board members, so thank you for all of you that are participating. Oh, and the administration as well. But there's a little competition between us, so we won't discuss that. So next, Ms. Kelly, regarding communication.
Thank you and good evening. 5 Methacton, thank you guys. If you could look at your screen there. 5 Methacton High School students have been named finalists in the National Merit Scholarship Competition. This program recognizes students from across the entire nation who exhibit exceptional scholastic achievement. 8 North Monco Technical and Career Center students who represent Methacton High School won medals at the recent Skills USA District 2 competition. 5 students earned first place medals and 3 students earned second place medals. The first place medalists will go on to compete at the state level competition in April. Earlier this month, that's the wrong one, but let me switch. Okay. What's Brewing, Coffee and Conversations with Dr. Zerbe makes its next stop at Shannondale Retirement Community on March 6th. And on April 9th, Dr. Zerbe will take the series to the Lower Providence Community Library. We look forward to expanding the series schedule to create more opportunities for public engagement. Community members are welcome to reach out to us and share locations that we should consider for future dates. You can email us your thoughts at information@methacton.org. And then finally, earlier this month, our K-12 teaching staff participated in an in-service day that featured interactive workshops and practical sessions centered around 3 key themes: literacy, artificial intelligence in teaching and learning, and instructional strategies. These dedicated days for professional development support our teachers in their professional growth and development, which ultimately benefits the entire Methacton school community as a whole. And a big shout out to the curriculum department because they work their butts off to make that a successful day for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. And our superintendent's report, Dr. Zerby.
Thank you, Madam President. I have nothing more than the advisements that are listed on the agenda. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So we'll move to public comment on board action items. The Board of School Directors will now provide an opportunity for residents to make comment on matters that are or may be before the board. The board asks that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The Board of School Directors may choose to respond to matters following the conclusion of the comments.
Jim Malik, Worcester. How do your security people get paid? Is it like weekly, monthly, yearly, one lump sum? Can you tell me that? I looked on the list of bills. I can't tell what's going on. I'm assuming it's on the list of bills. Don't pay it. Okay? You have to trust me for now on that one. There's a bill for $7,400 for the postcard. Okay? Postage and postcard. Now, who's responsible for the design of this? Who put it together? Who authorized it? Can you tell me that one? How many of these went to the public? Now, I got 2 of them, right? How many went to the public? Did you go by individual resident? Did you go by family? Did you go by household? How'd you mail it out? Can you tell me that? Because $7,000, I'm not sure went to a whole lot of people. I mean, went to some. But I would say don't pay that bill either. See this second postcard you sent us, right? It's missing something. February 20th is your meeting. February 29 is your discussion. What happened to February 26 on that? That's your public survey. How come it's not on this? So that all the public knew it was there. But maybe that's the idea. You know, the public's just going to have to check the website every day. Is that how it goes? Don't pay it.
Thank you. Is there any other? Okay. All right. Does anyone, okay. So I apologize. Next on the agenda, the fiscal items, Mr. Bricker. Oh, wait, I apologize. Sorry. May I have a motion to approve the January 23, 2024 regular board meeting minutes as attached? Okay. Ms. Cleary, and a second. Ms. Purdue? All in favor? Oh, and sorry, any comments? Sorry about that. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next on the agenda, the fiscal items, Mr. Bricker.
Thank you, Madam President. This month for your approval are 8 fiscal items with no changes from the work session.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve all fiscal items as presented? Mr. Winters, and a second. Ms. Thiel, any comments or questions? Okay. May I have a motion? I'm sorry. I apologize again. All right. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Madam President.
Sorry about that. Next, personal items. Next on the agenda is Dr. Sorgini.
And we'll take those. Dr. Regina will take those.
Thank you, Dr. Zerbe. Just one addition to the agenda from Dr. Sorgini's presentation last week. We do have a resignation classified for Donna Payton, secretary to the assistant principal at Skyview Upper Elementary. We certainly want to thank Donna for her years of service and her dedication to the Skyview building. So without that, there's no other additions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve all personal items as presented? All right, Mr. Winters, and a second. Ms. Alston. All right, any comments or questions? All right. All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carries 9-0. Now we move on to curriculum and programs. We have no items this month for curriculum and programs. We'll now move to policy.
Thank you, Madam President. As we know, we're only voting for second read this evening, and there are no changes to the second read items for this evening's agenda. Thank you.
All right. Okay. May I have a motion to approve all policies for second read as presented? Ms. Alston, and a second. Ms. Purdue. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next items under other, Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you, Madam President. You can see that we're asking for the approval of esports as the official club of Methacton High School and authorize the administration to proceed with securing the space in the high school for the start of the 24-25 school year. We have gift and donations listed as presented last week. And then we have a number of trips, a total of 11 trips for your approval, as well as transportation. For adding Stephanie Brokowski to the transportation list under first student. We have the approval of the 24-25 school calendar as listed. We also have the high school photography vendor as per the agreement attached. And then we have the following agreements listed under 13G, and these are new for your consideration. And they read as followed: approve the settlement agreement and release for student 300729 with special language of terms of the settlement agreement drafted by the district solicitor. Item number 2, approve the settlement agreement and release for student 240418 with special language in terms of the settlement agreement drafted by the district solicitor. And the last item, approve the settlement agreement and release for student 260156 with special language of the terms of the settlement agreement drafted by the district solicitor. That ends items under other.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve all items under other as presented?
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I make a comment about the calendar?
First, what we'll do is take a motion, and then we take a second, and then you could comment.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Graff, may I have a second? Ms. Cleary? All right. Any questions or comments? Ms. Shonda?
I would just like to make a recommendation to approve the calendar as it is right now, with the caveat that the Ed Committee looks at the second Eid holiday and consider it for that year.
So to clarify, the June 6th date on that.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments on that? Yes, Ms. Alston.
I have, not on the calendar, but on 13A, esports, could we get the, it says associated equipment, material supplies. Could we get an amount in the agenda, please?
Can you put the amounts on the esports for costs? Ms. Graff?
I think the amount was presented with the student's presentation, and I thought that the amount was going to be covered by a grant that was going to be provided.
The presentation said that the equipment would be between $50,000 and I believe $65,000, and the foundation is willing to cover that with $50,000 as part of the. And then it was also recommended by a member of the board that we also apply for additional grants, and we are in the process of doing that.
Could we have the amount, though, that we believe that could we have amounts usually for these types of items, if we could put the amount on?
we could, but we don't have the program fully developed. We do need to work with the student body associated with that, and we don't, like, I don't have a definitive amount.
Okay.
If the board would want me to do a not to exceed amount, we can certainly do that. But I don't.
No, that's okay.
I'd be throwing darts in the dark at this moment.
So I know they gave us their request, and it was for 51,000 to 65,000. Is that what you're asking to be included, or are you saying that maybe we should cap it off? Or
I'm not saying to cap it.
You
I
just
just am
want-
saying in general, our practice is usually to put amounts that we're voting for on the agenda. So
It is. No, you're correct, Ms. Olson.
So-
I'm not questioning your comment. I can tell you that I don't have a
so
specified
if we
number.
could put 51 to 65 with
If that-
50 being covered by anticipated being covered by a grant, I would like to see that.
Okay, so Mr. Summers, if we had a motion on the table to approve all the items under other, and now we have a modification of an agenda under that, can you give us advice, please?
Sure. So the request was specifically for the esports to have language added to the motion that the associated equipment, materials, and supplies, essentially at a cost estimated between, what was the amount? $50,000 and $65,000. Is that accurate?
Yes, and you could say you could add the anticipated grant or not add the anticipated grant into the language.
Okay, just in terms of with that language of what the estimated cost listed, is there any objection from any board members of having the motion on the table be the approval of items A through G with that language adjusted? Any objection to that?
No.
Okay, with no objection, certainly the motion can be presented as was just referenced.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, and right, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Next, we move to dates for board members' calendars. Board member dates are listed on the agenda and also on the Methacton website. We move on to old business. Do we have any old or new business? Yes, Ms. Graff?
Yeah, I do just want to mention under new business that post-prom is coming up, and there's a huge request out there for volunteers. And so obviously the board would be great volunteers, and as well as anybody who has students in the district, even the younger students, it's a great way to get involved and provide support for the students as your kids come up through the district. And I always find it to be a lot of fun. So I just want to mention that. I know there's a call out there. You can read it on the website.
Yes, Ms. Alston.
I would add on to that there are positions for cleared and uncleared volunteers as well. So if you don't have your district clearances, you can still participate. There are opportunities, and in the Sign Up Genius, it tells you which type of volunteers.
I agree. I echo that. It is a great event, and I would love to see it just be continued. I think it's 45 years, is it what they said? So, yes, Ms. Steele.
I'm just asking for clarification on procedure, I think. Ms. Chanda asked about the Education Committee taking a look at the second E in the calendar after it is approved. Does there need to be a motion for that, or does that just happen? Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
Do you want to do clarification on? No,
No, there does not need to be a motion. She's making a request, and between the administration and the chair of the Education Committee, we'll get that on the agenda as they see appropriate. Yeah.
Great, awesome, thanks.
Great. Any other new or old business? Okay. Now we will move to courtesy of the floor. The Board of School Directors will now provide an opportunity for residents to make comment on matters that are or may be before the board. The board asks that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. The Board of School Directors may choose to respond to matters following the conclusion of the comments.
Good evening. John Andrews, Lower Providence. seems to me that the district administration is rushing the board to a decision come March 26th. This evening, another member of the public spoke about the questionnaire not being posted on the postcard. That's an obvious good point. Again, dates for board members' calendars, nothing about it. Board attendance at the open public forums. I think that there's considerable evidence that options 1 through 3 are being rushed through. For instance, the sewer plant project. We don't know the current costs of the sewer plant. We don't know what the issue is with the current sewer plant. There's some hint that it might be aging. But the cost to remove and pipe the sewerage to the Lower Providence pickup point is identified as $650,000. We don't know what the likely operating costs will be. Clearly, to me, the high school population is similar to that of the Skyview Arcola complex, where the bill by the sewer authority is $20,000 a year. So we don't know the economics of the switch. It may be that we're only paying $10,000 a year for the present setup. Yet we want to save, or we want to spend $650,000 with there might be some advantage to that land being replaced by parking or tennis courts. So I am totally amazed that this board seems to feel that options 1 through 4 are not worth clarification, discussion, understanding. For instance, one of the options lists the auditorium as a replacement.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Andrews, your 3 minutes is up. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 3 minutes, John. There's 2 of us here and it's an hour. Jim Malik, Worcester. 3 minutes, 2 of us here, an hour. Disappointing, Jen. I just saw the addition of a public input form on the Planning for Our Future website. Just saw it. This form was not on the timeline that was mailed to us and was just put up. Why? Why all of a sudden? What's the rush? The whole thing's a rush. It states that on February 20th, Dr. Zerbe presented 4 preconceptual options towards development of a comprehensive Methacton High School plan, and that you want our input. Well, here's what it is. Look at this. There's nothing here. Your options are nothing, 0, couple words. Then it says, oh, tell us which one you find most appealing. How do you think that's going to go? Most appealing. That's rich. You already recommended option. You picked the option, the new school option. It's already recommended. You think the public is going to go against your recommendation? I don't know. The new building option. How were the members of the public who weren't students, teachers, parents, administrators, and who didn't have kids in the district notified about this? Or better yet, how were the parents, teachers, students, and administrators notified of the form? Did these self-interested parties get preferential notification by email and social media like they did with the planning committee? Or did we all just get a postcard? I happen to think they probably got preferential notification. Each option only had a small couple bullet points. It's not enough. You forgot to include the most important thing, the cost. Nothing on any of those options has the cost. That's the most important thing. Like how much each option was going to cost, including interest cost and total cost associated with each option, which is going to affect the outcome. How much are the tax increases associated with the cost broken down by assessed value for each option for the people to look at and evaluate? They'll think twice when they find out it's almost $320 million. You also forgot option 5, which is we want a complete, detailed, non-biased, comprehensive evaluation of each option, including detailed costs, after which the public will provide input. Because that's how it should go. All the options should be developed, then you let the public have input, and then you make your decision. What you're going to do is you picked. I want a new school. Why? Because it's not going to work.
Thank you. Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Okay, seeing none. All right. Does anyone want to respond or comment? Yes, Ms. Purdue?
I do just want to ask Dr. Zerbe with the survey that went out to the community, I believe, can you provide information on how it was communicated on the survey and what information is available for the community to provide or make a selection for their options?
So a number of the things that we did, the survey was on one of the postcards. It was also sent to our social media channels through any listservs that we have access to. And typically in these processes, we also contact both townships and ask them if they would distribute this information to the constituents in those communities.
And I asked the question just because I know people in the community received the survey. I mean, I know people that reached out that received it by email. And what I was hoping was also to be highlighted is that with the survey, there's directions on there as far as what the district is asking for, and also providing information that say before completing the feedback, please reference presentation from the board, and a few additional resources were provided, at least in the email link. And I was just hoping is that the communication that others are receiving with the other resources you provided.
Yeah, all the other resources have all the information associated with the cost, and so it's available, and the directions ask for them to review that information prior to filling out the survey.
Right. Any other? Yes, Ms. Alston.
Thank you. Just regarding the question of the sewer on campus at the high school, I know that Dr. Sorgini has a wealth of information on that topic. And I also know that he did speak at length in some of the meetings about that. And it's my understanding that there is a myriad of reasons other than solely economic to move that facility off campus and connect it with the public sewers. And maybe that's just something at a future meeting Dr. Sorgini can highlight for the board.
We certainly can have them do that. Again, most of that information is found in the recommendations from the final report from the Methacton High School Campus Planning Committee.
I do second that. Maybe even going through property committee, allowing us the property committee to go through the sewer and the transportation, just because those were two like adjunct situations that we can have some conversation on that. Just any other questions or comments? Yes, Ms. Graff.
Yeah, I thought it might be helpful to address the question that has come up a couple of times now about why we're not considering all of the options and going through the engineering analysis and conceptual design for every option. I think that in the interest of providing options to the district that will be cost effective and timely, I mean, the cost to have an engineer engaged and do multiple designs for multiple scenarios and multiple options becomes excessive. And you can take a design and scale it back to a renovation. You can't take a renovation and scale it up to a new school. So I just wanted to make the point that the idea of going forward with a design for a new school allows an exploration of sort of the top option, top end, if you will, worst case cost. And you can scale back if that becomes excessive or too much for the district. And I think that the approach that the board is taking here is to try to do the most cost-effective solution that will get us to a place where we can make an informed decision. And I just wanted to mention that because I think it's come up a couple of times, and I think that it's important for the public to understand this is not a decision to build a new high school. This is a decision to do an exploration on what that could look like and what it would actually cost.
Well said, I would say. Is there any other comments? All right, great. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Ms. Alston, may I have a second? Ms. Purdue, all right. Meeting adjourned at 8:13.